talking. We're we're live right now. Hello, church family, TCI family, and faithful followers from all around the world. Jonathan's Refuge. You caught me. I was expecting it a little longer to start, and I was having some conversations with fellow staff, our executive. My entire executive team is almost here today, so it's very excited. I always love spending time with them as we all work and chit chat and stuff. I tell everyone when I build a firm, I build it so that I work with the people I love the most. I love working with great people. Now I know that means you got to also hire others, but gosh, I sure love working with the staff that I have. We're going to get into the message. Let's jump into it. This is your Bishop, Archbishop Brown, coming to you live from the headquarters. I never really get a chance to show you guys too much of the view, but I'm going to lift this, so forgive the shaking. I don't know if it's going to pick up or not, but yeah, it's the sun kind of. There's no way to deal with that. It's just a gorgeous view out there. You can see all the way to the actual Olympics and stuff. Beautiful place. Come up, visit us sometimes. We'd love to talk with you guys, show you the property, show you the vision of what God is doing through us and how we're touching lives here in our part of the world. And one of the things that our firm, one of my nonprofits that we've been doing is we've been teaching some amazing lessons out of a book called Secrets of the Stoics, and it's by Jason Hemlock. So if you get a chance, pick up a book called Secrets of the Stoics by Jason Hemlock. This book talks about how to live an undefeatable life. The ancient Stoics are people like Marcus Aurelius, one of the Caesars. He is one of the greatest minds of all time. And they teach on him in here. Right now, we were in the chapter of Seneca, one of the greatest philosophers. And so there's a whole bunch of Epictetus is the first one. So they're specifically, this book is on three of them: Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Caesar, and then of course the Emperor of Rome, and then it is the last guy, Seneca. So here's these Stoics that are teaching us how to live the undefeatable life. Now I want to think about this because the chapter we learned about this week is called Memento Mori. Memento Mori is specifically talking about, it's Latin, it's discussing to contemplate your own death. And here's a statement Seneca says, which is interesting. You want to live, but you do not know how to live. You are scared of dying, and tell me, is the kind of life you lead really any different from being dead? I want you to contemplate what that just said. If you're dead, you're dead. It's over, right? There's nothing. I see people get up every day and they get in their car and they drive to some office building and they go inside and they sit and do this all day, or they grind that, or they push this, or they pull a lever, or whatever it is they do. And they get in their car and they race home and they turn on the TV in the evening news and they watch one show as they eat their TV dinner, and then they go to bed, and they do that day in and day out and day in and day out. Is that any real different than dead? Are you living or are you existing? That's how I think of it. When I first studied Seneca as a young man, I actually changed the question to be this: are you living or are you existing? See, if you're just driving to work every day and that's all you do, and okay, you have nothing in your life and you just kind of do the simple thing, and you go to see a few baseball games maybe, or you go fishing 3 or 4 times a month or something, but you just existing. Not We're not meant to exist. Hear this when I say this. You are not meant to exist. You're meant to thrive. You're meant to strive because this life is so short. And that's why they're teaching about one of the ways you got to have an undefeatable life is we have to look at our mortality. We have to address that. Now, I liked in this chapter on the mortality, there's this one part, and it talks about if you were dying, okay, if it came to you right now, because a lot of people say, you go to sleep and you wake up, and or you go to sleep, but you might not wake up. So think of that for just a second. We have all heard the saying, you go to sleep, you might not wake up. Did you call the people you loved last night? And you say, no, but I'll get to it later because, I got tonight. When I get up at work in the morning, I'll call them on the way to work. There's people that are going to be watching this, and you might not come home tonight. You might not lay your head down on your pillow at home, and you might not ever do that again because tonight, on the way home, you might get one of those horrible car accidents that happen 30,000 times a day. Hmm. But we're so confident that we have time to finish the things that are the most important things in our life. Family feuds. I just went through a nasty divorce, and let me tell you something. Family feuds can be um, hurtful. They can be very painful when people and families are ripped apart through a divorce. And having gone through that, having family that will speak to you and others that won't, and there's a brutality because you have relationships that are just ripped apart. How do you process that? How do you and what if you did die tonight? Did you want to tell any of those people something? I remember my birth father, he's dead now. We had a falling out when I was in my 20s over a huge corporation, a multi-million dollar company that me and him both built. Excuse me when I take a sip of Diet Coke. I'm cheating and having a soda pop. Don't tell nobody. So I remember we got in this fight. It was over our company. It was a multi-million dollar firm. And long story short, I walked away from it and never got a penny from the sale of the company. And uh, we didn't speak. And it was because he felt I was foolish with my money. I was making like 20 grand a week, and I gave my whole monthly or 20 grand a month was my salary for the month. And I gave my whole monthly salary away on a trip to Maine to visit people in my adopted dad's church. And so here I was thinking I was taking money that I usually would have spent in strip clubs, bars, cocaine, and all kinds of things. Instead, I wanted to go around and help these people who I've known my whole life, who I grew up with in my daddy's church, and bless them for Christmas. And we topped off all their oil because in Maine, everyone runs oil to heat the house. So I filled everyone, well, me and my good buddy, we went out and got a couple trucks and we went around and drove to all the houses and filled them up, topped them off, things like that. So it was what I wanted to do. It started my change, my transformation in life from being just a selfish person to moving into more of like, there's other people out there in this world that I need to look at and help. I can't fix everybody's problem because then I'd be broken and then I'd be someone's problem. But I can help one person today and I can help change their life today. So let's do that. And so that was interesting. And I never talked to him for years, made that falling out. And then life turned around and here's the big man himself, and he's in trouble and needs my assistance from things in the underworld. And then I jump in there and I help and I save the day because that's what family does, right? But we didn't talk. And as I was driving away, I remember I wanted to say some things and I didn't do it. And I turned the car around and I drove back and I had to finish what I had to say because I didn't know if I would make it that night or not. If you knew today was your last day, right? Today's it. It's all over. You will not wake up in the morning. I want you to look at your calendar. Everything you've got planned for the next 12 months that is the most important things to you. I want you to think about that you're not going to do any of it, which means none of it matters at all because you're dead and you're gone. So think of that and then tell me what you're going to do for the rest of the night. Hmm. Because I know what I'd be doing. I'd be picking up the phone and talking to all the people I want to say something to. I'd be writing some letters to people who need to get a letter that they can hold on to for years to come because they really needed to hear me say I forgive them or something. And they're going to want to see that over and over. So not just some social media crap, not just hop on Facebook and say, I love everybody. If you're family and friends, I love you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about calling your brother or your sister and saying, Hey, can we put this bullshit behind us? Seriously? Because if you die tomorrow, how's that going to feel? And if I die tomorrow, how are you going to feel? Let's stop. We can work on it or not work on it, but can we just say I love you to each other? Now, some people won't. I've got family that won't, and I've tried. So, what do you do when that happens? That's okay to cut that tie. I don't have relationship with any of them anymore whatsoever. I gave it a shot. I forgave them. I asked for their forgiveness. Nothing. No one wanted to no one wanted to talk. No one wanted. Okay, that's cool. They made their choice. It's funny how life changes when all of a sudden they need something from you. And then that's when you can be a jerk and say, really, now that I got money, you want help? You can do that kind of stuff. Or you can just be a good person and say, sure. Or you can say, look, I'd love to help you, but I just can't. All of the answers are okay, no matter what it is you do. The point is, when it comes to living a life that's undefeatable, nothing can bother you, first off. And so Stoics have the secret to that. How do you live a life when nothing bothers you? I really want you to contemplate that. What does it matter if you're dead tomorrow? So seriously, I was looking at a pair of shoes for this outfit. I was going somewhere on a trip next week. And, and I was like, does it really matter? I mean, really. And I went back in my head 30, 40 years ago, even as short as 20 years ago. And I remember a trip and I thought, what shoes did I wear? And I couldn't tell you because I have no clue. Do you wanna know why I have no clue? Because it didn't actually matter. But I guarantee you, if you go back 20 years right now to the other Jonathan Brown 20 years ago, pop out when he's going somewhere and you tell him it doesn't matter what shoes you wear, he's gonna look at you and say, "You're an idiot. You're not only an idiot, you're one of the biggest idiots I've ever met. Of course it matters what shoe. I'll know exactly what shoe I wore when I won this, trophy or whatever." Couldn't tell you. Have no clue what shoe I wore because it doesn't matter. So the things you think that matters, they don't matter. And I've gotten good at it because of, I hate to say it, for whatever reason, the good Lord gave me the life that was going to have the health crisis, and then my lifestyle did not help it. So I'd added on to that complex situation. And so I sit there and I have to deal with death all the time, and this heart problem is getting worse, not better. And I'm out striving and I'm working out and I'm walking and I'm trying to do my best and uh minus the Diet Cokes that I'm not supposed to have. Shh. But other than that, and I have gotten rid of most of them. They're nice little treats now. So when you look at your life, what really matters today is my relationships, is most importantly. I don't have to worry about anything else. See, my relationship with God is the most important. What comes after God for me? It's my family. It's my loved ones. My family is not blood, by the way. If I had to call the 10 most important people in my life, I think there's only 2 that actually have the same blood as me. The rest of them, they're not in the top 10. And yet they're siblings and aunts and uncles and cousins and all that stuff. Nope. Because they're not. They were blood family at one time, sure. But I haven't talked. There's people I haven't seen in 30 years. They don't know me. The last time they saw me, I was a 20-year-old punk just got out of the mob. I was a ruthless killer. You want to talk about like who I am? They don't have a clue who I am. Just like when you meet someone, you go back to a reunion. Oh, that's Bobby. You know Bobby. No, you don't actually. It's been 25 years. You have no clue what happened to Bobby or what Bobby went through, or what Bobby became or didn't become. So, what's important to you? What's the most important thing that matters is the relationships with God and family and friends. And your family is who you choose to be with and make a life with. A man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, I don't care. You guys all know that I am an inclusionist. So I believe that if you want to be gay, that's your business. If you're straight or gay, I don't care. I'm straight, and there's nothing wrong with that. My brother's gay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so it's interesting when you look at life in the context of what's most important for just today. Forget tomorrow. It doesn't exist. I want you to really do this practice for about a week. I want you to spend every day for the next 7 days and say, today's it. I do not have another day. So what am I going to do today? And you're going to repeat a lot because you're going to tell your honey how much you love him or her, right? and you're going to come home and make that dinner that you always wanted to make for them. And for the next 7 days, they're going to be like, "Did I do something? Do I owe you something, baby? Why are you being so nice to me?" Well, because I love you, and I might not be here tomorrow. And so, even though I'm upset that you messed this up or messed that up, is it really that important? No. I hope you can fix it. I hope you'll stop doing that, just in case I do live another day. But does it matter to me today? No, because if I go to sleep tonight and don't wake up, I don't want the last thing we did to be about some argument or some fight. Because folks, I've done that. And I have I've lost a couple dear people in the last year of my life. And only a few months ago, one of the closest people I ever had since I was 14 years old, my baby's mama. And she's now with our son. And I mean her were best friends. We were actually best friends. We never were lovers, like boyfriend girlfriend stuff. We were just teenage kids, and in between two prison stints, between 15, I got out at 16 and went back in and did a whole nother year. But anyways, that was how it happened, and it was just uh, you know how it happens. But the point is, she was my best friend out of anywhere that I had, and I lost her. And I that last conversation, I love it because we always did the same thing. We talked about our son, we laughed, we cried, and we kind of said how our current families are doing. You know, she's got this great husband, they got a couple kids, and she's battling, or she was battling cancer and stuff like that. And I'd tell her about my life, and she'd be like, "You're crazy. I love you. You're amazing." And we were just like best friends. I wish I would have done this practice and did it then. I wish I could have told her just a couple more things. Like, do you know how amazing of a mom you were? You really were the best. And so it's that kind of an attitude that you need to take to live your best life. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, like right now, I've got staff in the office, the headquarters right here. They're right on the other side of the wall. There's drama in my firm every day, every week, there's drama. Some is a light week, some are easy, some are about clients, some are about employees, some are about me, some are about you know. There's drama. That's life. It's going to happen. You're going to lose money, you're going to gain money, you're going to be rich, and you're going to be poor, you're going to have great health, and you're going to have sickness. And if you don't expect this all, then you're going to be shocked. Okay. Have no expectations that it's all going to be perfect, and you'll never be disappointed. That's part of living that undefeatable life. So, I didn't want to delve into any specific one topic tonight as I wrap this up. I wanted to just delve into live the next 7 days like this is the last day of your life, and then repeat that same practice tomorrow. And then, like I said, you'll find yourself doing stuff. I love hearing back. Last time I did this is a couple years back, and one of our followers is a pastor, and he's got about 60 church members, and they follow us in Africa. And so they sit each week and they follow the church service, and it's just one viewer, but it's got a whole member of people, almost I think 60, that sit there and follow it. And I said this activity, same thing I'm telling you guys to do right now. And this, it was so cute. He said the whole church, like everyone in town, our church almost doubled. And I said, "It doubled?" He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "How did it double?" Because back then I don't even know what they were. It was like 28 or 27 something. I'm like, "How did it double?" He's like, they did what you said. Like the husbands would get home from work, instead of being cranky and throw their boots off and do that kind of stuff, they'd be like, "Can I help you with the kids?" And the wives would do the same thing. And people are watching, like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" And they saw the fruits from their labor. So these families, the husbands, the wives, were treating each other like it was the last day they were alive. And then everyone around them were like, "Oh my God, these people are amazing." And then they started getting a more amazing life because people wanted to be around them more. So they started getting invites to other people's lives. And people are like, "You guys are awesome." And they're like, "What the heck? All we did was like live today like it's gone tomorrow." And you've all heard that saying. But why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? And if you can do it the majority of your year, because you won't do it every day. I haven't. I didn't do it when one of the most important parts of my life, when someone was passing. And so that's why I delved deeper into this, because I realized I was lacking in my life some parameters or alarms that could go off to remind me, hey, Bishop, you kind of don't forget, you're only alive today. Oh, thanks for reminding me. Because sometimes as a visionary and as the bishop, your job is the vision, right? So my job is not so much the details. My staff, I don't need to go in there and be like, so under our BHA this week, how many clinical hours did we do, and what was our psychological evaluation? I don't need to do any of that. Okay, I have the greatest staff, and I walk in and I say, how many people did we have this week? Did we service? How many hours? What was the billing? What did we, any crisis that we need to deal with? And we go to our FCS division. What's going on? What's the employees' issues? What's the clients' issues? You go through it. You got great leadership, and you let the leadership. You don't micromanage it. You just be involved in everything. You need to be notified, so you know what's going on in your firm. Don't ever let that happen, right? And so you know what's going on, but you let them lead that, and even then, if you live this lifestyle, your company will thrive. And if you make everyone in your company, and I say make them because it's your job to do that, but how do you make them? You can't make people. Well, yeah, you can. The old me would say, yeah, you can. You will be happy or I'll fire you. No, that don't work. So you're going to lead them to be happy, right? Or we're going to lead them to live a life as though it's their last life. And if they don't, then they usually find their way out. They usually quit because they don't feel like they're part of the group. They usually, say, look, this isn't for me. And that's okay. And I've had to let people go. But it's this concept is it'll change your world. So take your next 7 days. Send me an email. Let me know what you did and how you did it. How were your 7 days? Who did you call? What was the replies? Who did you speak to? Give me a feedback and let me know how your life changed. Because I promise you, the little African community is transformed. Husbands, wives, children's business, all across the board, and a church double by people just doing this one little practice that I gave you guys. I love you so much. As your bishop, it's always my honor and pleasure to come before you every week. I truly do love you guys. I love the emails you send us with the reports. I love your phone calls. Thank you all for the calls when I was in from my heart at the hospital. That meant a lot. I love you guys. God bless.